I just want to introduce myself first. I'm Amy Mewers, the CEO for the National Youth Leadership Council, and I want to welcome you to Project Ignition. We've been doing PI as a program for over a decade now, and I have had the most amazing luck to work with two amazing ladies, and I'd love for them to introduce themselves. Rosemary Pizzuto and Judy Weber-Jones. If you guys just want to say a little bit about who you are and how long you've been working with Project Ignition, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Pizzuto. I'm the CEO for Campfire in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And I've been working with Project Ignition since the very first year. Our students were award winners in the first year when it was under a different auspice. And we're very excited to be here to be part of the group as well as to be mentors.
Thanks, Rosemary. Judy?
Yeah, Judy Weber-Jones. I was at Gibson City Melvin Sibley High School. We've been connected with Project Ignition since 2005, which was the second year. And we're really excited about helping to mentor and get everybody started on Project Ignition because it's a great program.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. So I am going to be talking a lot for this first part, and then I'm going to turn it over to those two because they're amazing and they know what they're doing when it comes to teen driver safety. They've been doing this a very long time, and I just, like I say, I'm honored to be able to work with them and to call them friends. So I wanted to say that we're recording today's session, like I mentioned, but also this is my first time using Zoom as a platform, so please forgive me if things go a little wacky. I will try to keep everything moving forward, and hopefully everything works today. We're going to cover just a few things. We're going to cover some of the highlights from the contract so that everyone knows what's going on there. Stories and resources that have worked over the years, and then we're going to end with some Q&A time. We have 40 minutes, and so I want to make sure that we're getting through things as quickly as possible and honoring your time. But I encourage you to type in your questions in Messenger and ask as we go as well, and we can, if there are things that I'm talking about, feel free to type those in. And Lauren's going to be my Q&A person since for whatever reason I can't see Messenger. So thanks, Lauren. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first off, I want to say thank you and congratulations for becoming part of PI Nation and having being part of the 2018-19 cohort. Currently, we have 17 sites operating from coast to coast. We're from California all the way to the East Coast in New Jersey. And we're really focused on this year on addressing seatbelt use. Teen driver safety and seatbelt use remain an extremely important issue in our country since road injuries are the biggest killer of teens. So in a recent study, they found across the world 1.2 million teens between the ages of 13 and 19 die each year. So that's more than 3,000 teens every day are dying because of road injuries. So what your team has committed to do is so important. You're going to save lives through this program. So hopefully you and your students can be really proud about what you accomplish in the next, for the next few months. I wanted to share with you some of our contract logistics. Oops, I'm sorry, before I do that. I did want to share that we will have the opportunity for 2 teams to have a paid trip to the Service Learning Conference in Philadelphia, April 14th through the 16th of should be 2019. Sorry about that. It's all, the process is going to be an actual workshop proposal. So if your teams are interested in participating at the National Service Learning Conference, there will be a workshop proposal that will be sent, and the proposal will be judged on its own, separate from the projects. Obviously, the projects should be incorporated into that proposal, but the Project Ignition in of itself is not a competition. So I want to, although we can only send 2 teams, I encourage everyone to apply if you are able to raise funds to come to the conference. We want as many of you to be there as we can. The workshop proposals are completely separate from the project as a whole. So like I say, I want to make sure everybody's aware of the dates for the conference. It's the 30th annual National Service Learning Conference, and we generally have about 600 attendees from across the United States and about a dozen other countries represented. There's a lot of information on our website. If you'd like to submit a workshop proposal that has nothing to do with teen driver safety, the workshop proposal is available right now as well. Okay. So some of the big picture pieces of the contracts had to do with collaboration and outreach. I'm going to actually.
So, hey, Amy.
Yes.
Eva asked for the conference. Would we be paying for the meals and the transportation if the teens went?
So for the 2 teams that are selected, the transportation, the registration, everything is covered. For those teams who want to come beyond that, they would be responsible for hotel transportation to get there.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going back a couple of slides. I wanted to share kind of a big picture piece about the Project Ignition cohort for this year. So the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is our sponsoring organization. And it was really through their research that seatbelt use is what is driving and still remains a serious issue with driving injuries for teens. So as we're talking about seatbelt use, it's more than just buckling up. It's about car seat use. It's about proper installation. It's about wearing a seatbelt in buses and passenger vans whenever someone's in a moving vehicle. So I think many of you might remember, it was just a couple of weeks ago, there was a school bus rollover and a 12-year-old girl lost her life. And then earlier this summer, there were 3 teens who were killed in a church bus van when it crashed in southern Missouri. So you can include other topics in your project, like distracted driving or drunk driving, but seatbelt use has to be at least part of your project in some way. It's as part of our honoring our funder through NHTSA, and also the fact that it still remains one of the biggest issues for seatbelt or for driving safety. We also want to ask that you really utilize our Generator School Network, or we call it the GSN, to share resources with each other, to ask, share ideas, ask questions. It's a great collaboration space, and there's a group for Project Ignition specifically in there, and that's where the links to these webinars will be, with the resources that that we're putting in there will be available in the group. And again, this is about, the goal for PI is really about partnership and collaboration. We're here to help you connect, and we want to make sure that that you don't see this as a competition with the other teams, but really it's about collaborating with them. We also, as far as the collaboration as well, we're also looking to connect you with local and national partners. And so Rosemary and Judy are going to touch on some of what's worked with them and some ideas they have for you. But I also want to let you know that NYLC is here to help you connect with those partners as well. So if you're having trouble finding community partners, or you just need someone to help you brainstorm or look at community assets, we're here to help you do that. So we want to be a resource to help you increase the impact of your project through partners. Okay. So we covered the conference, and feel free to ask questions about that as we go along too, if you have additional questions about our conference. And then the collaboration and outreach, as I mentioned, the Project Ignition group is up on the GSN. You can reach it from NYLC's homepage. There's also the communications toolkit that was sent out within your welcome packets. And I encourage you to look that over, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And then we really would love for you, as you're using social media, sharing photos or messaging that you're sending out, to tag NYLC and NHTSA in those, and that is part of your communications toolkit. But if you're taking notes at all, we're NYLC.org, so NYLC.org, and you'll be able to see the NYLC logo pop up. And then I learned the hard way that it's NHTSA.gov, so NTSA.gov. There is another NHTSA, and it's not the real one if you don't have the GOV at the end. So like I say, as you're communicating out through social media, we really would love to be able to retweet, to like, to reshare what you're posting. So I appreciate that. Now we have some fun stuff to talk about. Reporting requirements, everyone's favorite thing. So we have 2 reports due for Project Ignition, one on December 14th, the other on June 24th. The December 14th is just a highlights of the activities, any stories that your students want to share. I encourage photos or video that you've created, or messages, campaigns you're working on. It's not a 20-page report. We're talking, this is something I highly encourage you have your students create and submit. The end of year report, which is the June 24th, that one will have a template for you, and it'll be sent out the month prior to when it's due. So that June 24th, in May, you'll receive the template for that final report. I still encourage the students to be the ones responsible for that. But that one will be a little bit more in depth, but nothing scary, I promise. Then the pre-survey for students participating in the campaign, we would love you to have those surveys done by November 28th. It helps us with our research and our evaluation program, and that we're actually making change in teen driver behavior. And then the other piece is the media releases that were also sent as part of the packet. Any photo that is under the PI banner, we'll just call it a banner, needs to have a video or a photo release sent to NYLC so that because it's part of the Project Ignition brand, that we have those photo releases on file. So if you use a photo as part of your campaign, please make sure that you're sending in those photo releases. They can come in as you need them, and video, obviously for video as well. And then just I wanted to take a minute to talk about the spirit of Project Ignition, and it's really the spirit of NYLC. And it's about youth taking action and tackling an issue that directly affects them. So the PD calendar that was sent out as part of your packets, those upcoming webinars are really designed with youth in mind, and they're designed by youth. So I encourage you to have your youth attend those sessions or watch the recorded sessions. Adult mentors are always welcome, and we encourage you to attend and be part of those discussions. But having young people really take a leadership role and gain some leadership experience through these professional development offerings is something that we really want to encourage. I also wanted to share that we're this next week we're beginning our recruitment of Youth Advisory Council members. And if you have young people that you would like to see take a leadership role at this national level, the application will be available, and we will have, they'll be paired with our Youth Advisory Council mentors from our last cohort, and they'll be developing a lot of the sessions, so it's not me talking, it'll be young people talking. They do a much better job than I do. They'll be deciding what some of those sessions look like, and they'll be helping us implement a lot of the programming at the national level. So I really, if you have young people who are interested, you can even just send me a note, and I'll make sure that you get the application in your inbox. And then finally, I would just, the required signatures. I've got almost all the contracts back, but if you haven't been able to get that done yet, I can't do submit for payments until I get the signed contract. So as soon as I get those, we'll be processing the grant checks in December. So those will be out to you and be able to start covering those costs very quickly. And we have the project plan. I've already received a few questions about this. This project plan is in 4 parts. You have the timeline, an overview of your goals, the relationship to the K-12 service learning standards, and the budget. There is not a template for this. I really encourage your youth to take ownership of this project plan and decide what's going to work for them. And then that's what should be submitted to NYLC, and we'll be sharing with NHTSA. But this is a great opportunity for them to really take this on and lead and take ownership of what's going to work best for their team and for their project. So as long as it covers those 4 points, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It can be in Excel, it can be in Project Manager, it can be in Word. It's really about your students and what they need to be successful. The K-12 service learning standards are on our website, and if any group has questions about how to connect to the standards, I am happy to help you with that. So just feel free to shoot me an email and go, Amy, we have no idea, or whatever that, and I will help you connect to the standards, because I promise you, you're already doing it. You just might not have the language around it. Then just one last push, because it's really important for NYLC. So we have the link to the evaluation pre-survey for Project Ignition. It's also in your contract. Or if you want me to send out another email, I can do that. But I really encourage you to meet that November 28th deadline. And then a post-survey link will be sent out again one month prior to the end of the grant period. And we really would love to be able to see how the students progressed through the Project Ignition grant, I guess. So that's my final, like, please fill that out, or not you, but having your students fill that out. So now that I've like talked at you very quickly for 20 minutes, sorry, I want to turn it over to Rosemary and then to Judy to really talk about stories of success, partnerships, and resources that they recommend. As you heard from the intro, I mean, they have a ton of experience in the implementation of this program, and they're amazing resources. So I'm going to mute my line and turn it over to Rosemary to start and to share some of her knowledge with you. Rosemary?
Can you hear me through the computer? Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna do it. You can? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure, so I logged on to the phone. Okay, so anyway, our youth had a variety of different ways that they implemented the program over the last 10 or 15 years. And it's been very exciting to watch and empower them to look at who could be available to support them. They've used local law enforcement, they've used local fire and rescue, they've used different services within the community, depending on what kind of program they were implementing. We at one point did a reenactment, and they were even able to get one of the local mortuaries to help them with part of the reenactment in terms of showing what the consequences could be of a significant accident or crash. I think that the thing that's the most important is that we empower the youth, that we teach them about those service learning standards, and we give them the voice of putting forth their most important effort in this. One of the things that I've discovered is that we have young people from the very first year that are now, I think, in their late 20s, early 30s, and they still talk about the impact that going through and the way that they feel that it has impacted their ability to drive, their ability to educate other people. So it's not just something that happens for today, it's something that happens for the future. And I think Eva and Judy would probably agree with that, seen on what kind of young people they have, they've had in contact with over the years. Some of our young people that are in those years, the 25 to 30s, are going to participate as mentors in helping us to bring on the program that we're doing here. And I think that's really exciting because they're going to talk about what they did, how they did it, and encourage the students to, again, be creative. We're very fortunate because of our location in Washington, D.C. So many of the federal partners like the National Transportation Safety Board, NHTSA, Department of Transportation people are right here at our fingertips. And so we often engage them in the process. So my email will be shared with you by Amy. Please feel free to send an email. The Campfire folks already know how to get in touch with me, but some of the folks from some of the other agencies may not. I just think it's a really exciting time for our young people, and the opportunity is incredible. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Rosemary.
You have to
And I
unmute
will make
yourself.
sure to send out Rosemary's email. She's an amazing resource, as is Miss Judy Weber-Jones. Judy, you want to share a little bit with us?
Sure. It's kind of hard to follow up that on Rosemary because she had a lot of the stuff that I was going to say, but I share the same passion that Rosemary does as far as in my 31 years of, well, 34 now, but 31 before I retired from GCMS. It was the best thing, not only for our student leaders, but for the impact and changing the attitude of the whole community as far as toward driver safety. And some of the things, actually, one of the most impactful things that we did back in 2005, 2006, when we won Project Ignition was, and the kids will probably say this too, was the NHTSA Saved by the Belt Club. If a kid was in a serious crash to where they would have either had serious injury or even death, if they were saved by the seat belt, the local law enforcement, whether it's the local police or state police, they fill out a report. And what we did when they awarded them the Saved by the Belt Club from NHTSA, we also had an assembly to talk about that particular crash, and so that particular crash would not happen again. But even our kids that, saw the signs going out of town, there was awareness all around. But like Rosemary said, all those agencies, your Secretary of State, even your local ones, your Rotary, your Lions Club, Chamber of Commerce, they're always willing to help save our youth, and anything that they can do to protect our precious kids, they'll do it. And like I said, the convincer rollover, if they go into my Project Ignition, GCMS Project Ignition, Weebly.com, they can see some of the stuff that my students have done through the presentations and videos and stuff. But and it also has the partnerships on there too, because I know we're kind of running close on time. But I can't say enough. It was kind of the $1 million answer as far as Project Ignition, as far as changing teen driving attitudes and behaviors. And I just share the same passion as Rosemary, that it's one of the best programs out there, and I just welcome everybody on board to help spread this life-saving message.
Thank you, Judy.
For those of you
You're
that are
welcome.
on SchoolTube, YouTube, there are a lot of videos from previous years that you might want to look at and see some of the things people have posted until we get all of the stuff up on our own Project Ignition web.
Wonderful. I know Rosemary cut out a little bit on that. So basically what she was saying is if you Google Project Ignition and look at YouTube, we have a ton of videos on YouTube, and we'll make sure to link to some of the ones that Judy was referencing as well in our group. So kind of the best of the best pieces in there. Thank you both for sharing your stories and ideas and resources. I also just want to encourage you to look at that Project Ignition toolkit that was created, that was put together by Project Ignition teams in partnership with NYLC. So even if you don't use it step by step, it has some great ideas and tips to get you started and kind of get you through the process for launching your projects. So I'm going to open it up for questions. If there's anything that from the contract to partnerships to the standards, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask them. And Lauren, if you wouldn't mind if people type them in to I can also unmute folks as well. There we go. So you are now all unmuted. So if you feel like speaking up, feel free to do that as well.
So I just had a quick question. You said that the checks were coming in December?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm just getting all of the requests processed with the signed contracts that have come in. So those will be coming out the first part of December.
Sounds good.
And as far as, I had a question, as far as having like a concrete project plan, is that still the right date? So November 23rd, we should have everything pretty much squared away?
So the project plan, it's basically your overview. So your timeline, your budget, what was it? I forgot what else was on there. It's on my spread or on the PowerPoint. But it doesn't have to be a detailed work plan. But like by this date, we want to have our campaign built. By this date, we want to be doing an event or whatever that looks like for your project. And then putting how you're going to connect some of those things to the standards. And then a budget, a budget for execution. So it doesn't mean every minute detail, but it means we want to have an event on this date, and here's what here's kind of what's leading up to it. Or we want to do, have our like an idea of our project planned by this date so that we can implement. We want to hit before prom, or big picture. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when is that due?
That is due November.
23rd.
Everybody else is going to chime in before me. Let's see what I said. Let's see.
I have December
You
14th.
said the 23rd on the original thing, but I'm going to ask you to take it to the end of November since a lot of schools are closed next week.
Okay.
And we don't have ours done, and I won't see my kids are out starting tomorrow until after Thanksgiving.
Okay, we'll push it to the end of November. We'll say November 28th, and I will make
That's
it
perfect.
on the. It's on the PD calendar. The deadlines are also on that. So we'll say the end of November.
That's great. Thank you, Amy.
Yep. Thanthing snuck up early on me. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, it's
Like,
way too early.
My thought process, I think, when I created it was that it would be before Thanksgiving, not the week of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of schools now are taking that whole week off. I don't know why, but anyway, the kids are happy. The teachers are happy.
I know
Any
Karen
questions?
asked about, is there a way to know which students have taken the pre-survey? Because I've told them and sent the link and sent reminders, but I don't have any clue if they've taken it or not.
You'll have to actually ask them. So the way that this pre-survey is set up, they have an identifier, which was like part of their cell phone number, but it's not done by name. It's an anonymous survey is basically what I'm saying. So they will have to tell you if they took it.
Amy, does it ask what group they're from?
It does, yes. So I can tell you how many.
Yeah, so maybe we could tell you how many there are, but not necessarily who they are.
Exactly.
Were
And-
we only supposed to give this to our team members? I sent it out to my entire school.
If your entire school is going to be participating in some way, then that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yep.
If we have teenagers that we add on, can they still take the pre-survey after the date?
Yes. Yep. Just circle with me and we'll make sure that I want to note that in their surveys.
Okay.
But yes.
And I think that's going to be especially true for the groups, the folks that are in youth development, because we may have groups that, as one group starts, they may bring on a second group, they may bring on a third group, and we're going to have some provision for making sure that happens.
Yep. And like I say, I'll work with you as you send those out to, we'll make a slight adjustment so that we note the start date of the youth.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions that are burning and that they'd really like to have answers to?
Are there any requirements for the budget, what we can use the budget for, what we can't?
No, not for yours, no. For me, yes. But for your budgets, no. No, as long as they're used for the project, that is completely up to you and the students on how the money gets spent.
Okay.
As far as team size goes, is there a minimum?
No. Well, no, there's not a minimum.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Is there a maximum?
Well, yeah, minimum or maximum.
I would say, as far as a core team goes, it's how many you can manage. As far as the project, if the project involves the entire school or a classroom, that's wonderful.
I'm thinking in terms of the workshop proposal.
Oh, as far as the workshop proposal, thank you for clarifying. So for the conference, it'll be a team of 3. So 2 youth and an adult mentor.
Oh, okay.
Amy, where is the conference where are we actually staying?
So the conference itself is taking place at New Foundations Charter School in Philadelphia. So it's the first time that we've actually hosted the event within a school, and I'm very excited about this. And there is a Hilton nearby that the Project Ignition teams, myself and staff, and some of our volunteers and such will be staying at. So it's not very far away.
Okay.
Amy, Karen asked if you could send out another link to the calendar.
Sure. I will.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, I will include that in the follow-up email that also has Rosemary's email in there.
She also asked a very long question. She said, I just want to make sure that there is no conflict of interest with our students working with some other agencies. For example, my students are wanting to have students take a free online driver safety course through the Ford Driving Skills for Life, and we are planning a school-wide assembly sponsored by In One Instant and a junior class assembly through Think Fast. Is there any conflict of interest with these groups?
No, I would say if there's a way for your Project Ignition dollars to help expand the impact, if that's like a launch for something else, I encourage you to figure out if there's a way to connect everything together. Can that be your Project Ignition project? That would I think we would have to talk offline to see if that works. But it's really the idea is to use all of these partners and collaborators and funders and to expand the impact. So I think the short answer is no, as long as you're not, I guess, double dipping, if that makes sense. And I'm happy to have a conversation offline just to get more information and to clarify if we need to.
And I think a lot of us are using those outside resources to broaden the scope and to give kids more opportunities because they put some excitement into it for the kids. And then they come back from those events, evaluate it, and see how they can use the skills and knowledge that they learned there to do the next step of their own project.
Yep. Thank you, Rosemary.
That's true.
Will the Project Ignition kids be able to apply for the NYLC scholarships for the conference?
For the scholarships for the conference? Yes.
Yes, okay.
And I highly encourage it.
We do every year. We've already
Excellent.
applied for a different workshop than this one.
Okay. Yes, I highly encourage applying for scholarships. We do our best to honor those. So we've reached our 40 minutes. Are there any other questions that you'd like answered tonight? Otherwise,
Amy, I just wanted to add, just making sure they can add my email to Judy WJ1@yahoo.com.
I will add yours
On
as
there
well.
too.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
You can also put my phone number in if you want.
Yeah, my phone's fine as well.
Okay, thank you, ladies. So I will send out a follow-up email with that that professional development calendar, some links to introductions to Judy and Rosemary. You can always reach me as well. I am here to help you get these projects going, to keep them going, to do whatever you need to help get them, to help them be successful. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And I just, I'm really excited to be working with all of you. So thank you for joining us tonight. And again, reach out if you need anything, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for everything.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.